I don't know if everyone has a final exam, but what Hector wanted for us to do is to basically answer all of the questions on the final exam. So we'll be doing that as well. Okay.
Oh, and my name is Jenna. This is Rachel.
Hi.
Are we gonna offer take refuge?
Yes. So I think most of you have been here before. We make offerings at the beginning of the class for many different reasons. Among them are planting the seeds to continue to receive teachings until we become enlightened. And also to take refuge, which also leads to enlightenment ultimately. And we're going to be discussing that in more depth. So for those of you who haven't done this before, if any questions rise up in your mind about what we're doing, why we're doing it, why it matters, please ask those questions. I probably will address most of them.
Stephen.
사실 부기에 주신 메톡트람 위라블링시인데 임파리 상계 신두 밑에 우아기 드럭은 남다 신라 주파쇼 Niram Guru Ratna Mandala Kamneyatayami Sangye Shuram Sakhi Chaknamla Janchu Vardu Jakni Kyapsuchi Daki Shinyen Gipe Sonamki Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Shuram Sogi Shaknamla Janchu Vardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Sonamki Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Shuram Soki Shaknamla Janchu Vardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Shinyen Gipe Sonamki Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsho.
Bless you. So, pretty good. You want to put the picture of
Oh, right, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So a lot of people in the past week have passed away. A lot of people who are quite famous. David Bowie, whom I would almost say is Sri David Bowie. Alan Rickman, Glenn Fry, Annette Funicello, Grizzly Adams, Bob Denver. A lot, right?
Grizzly Adams died?
Grizzly Adams passed away. Yeah. And then if you pick up the New York Times obituary, you'll see a whole lot of other people. And perhaps you might even know some people personally that have passed in the past week and or in the past year. And for us in the Sangha, for Hector, it was his madrina, his godmother, Dorita, Leticia Dorita Bernardi. And for others in our Sangha, you know, there's Jamie Zimmerman, Jordan Zimmerman. Every single one of us is going to pass. And I remember telling my daughter about this earlier when she was like 4 years old, and I was like, every single one of us is going to die. And in that way, it's okay because every single one of us is going to pass. And when I talk to my students, they tell them that there's 3 things that I know to be 100% true. The first is that we're all going to die. The second is that every single one of us wants to love and be loved. And the third is that every single thing that we do, whether small or large, is a consequence of the first 2. Right? Every action. So I would really, really love to honor Dorita and the love and the compassion that she gave to Hector, that she embodied in her way of living. Right? Because we can do that. We can have that choice to be that. And we can look at who Hector is to us. Right? Look at what she gave him. Incredibly beautiful. Every action that we do, every thought that we have spreads outward. And we can make a conscious decision on how to be. And compassion it's not just a thought, it's an actually action. You are compassionately offering the wish for the end of someone's suffering. Right? And sometimes we do compassionate action. We actually use our bodies in that way. But it begins with the thought. Everything begins with thought. That's the seed. So what I would like to do is lead us in a meditation of Tonglen, of offering compassion for all of the people that we know in our lives, personally, interpersonally, globally, that have suffered and are continuing to suffer. And then I would also like to offer, before we get to that place, a meditation that enables us to tap into our own Buddha nature. Because sometimes it's really hard to offer compassion if we ourselves are also feeling pain. We can feel too much. We can feel overburdened. And these are practices that I do often. So as we get ready to sit, take a sip of tea if you need it. And we'll take 3 deep breaths together, all right? So actually find that you're sitting well, your spine is extending up into the sky. And we'll inhale to our collarbones. Hold it gently. And then exhale, let it go slowly. And again, inhale. And exhale. And one more time, inhaling. And exhaling. And as we sit, you can consider that all of the Buddhas, both past, present, and future, are breathing into you. With every inhalation, you can draw light into your body, streaming down through the crown of the skull, rising up through the center of the body to fuel your heart with wisdom and compassion. Inhaling and exhaling, literally drawing the breath of the Buddhas into your body so that you begin to transform from the inside out. Inhaling and exhaling. And softly you may begin to feel that you are glowing. And you can begin to, on the exhale out through every cell of your body, a flame that is of compassionate benefit for all beings. Inhaling the breath of the Buddhas and exhaling out compassion and love for all of the people around you, and knowing as well that you have done this from the inside out. And in fact, as you draw every breath from the past, present, and future Buddhas into you, you are breathing into your past, your present, and your future. Inhaling and exhaling. And you may even begin to feel a little smile along your face as your body becomes infused with wisdom and kindness and compassion for all beings. And then we can choose, as Dorita did, to offer that compassion outward by actively drawing in the suffering of either all creatures or someone that you know specifically, whether it's a single mother struggling on her own, or perhaps the person that you just saw on the street begging for money. You can draw their suffering down into your body as a black cloud and let your body transform it as you exhale out light. Inhaling the darkness and the grief and the struggle and the pain that every single person alive feels. Wrap it up in your body of light and transform it on the exhale. Literally watching as it comes into you and flows out. Recognizing that every inhale now on the exhale is the transformation and the ending of someone's suffering. And recognizing that in the end, and the wish for the end of the suffering of one person, it is the wish for the end of suffering of all people. As we're inhaling and exhaling. Taking the wisdom and the compassion of the Buddhas, the kindness and the love of Dorita, and making it our own. Inhaling and exhaling. And perhaps in this action, recognizing that you are able, as we did in the beginning of the meditation, to exhale out light through every cell of your body. Inhaling and exhaling. What would it be like if you could actually imagine that every exhale out through every pore and cell of your body was a flame? And that you transformed all of the suffering as it came into you, and that this was a gift. I am so deeply thankful for the gift of Dorita and my dear friend and teacher's world. And I will ask you now to see your teacher in front of you, whomever that may be. your heart teacher, your root teacher, perhaps even someone that you just ran into on the street. See that person in front of you. See them smiling at you. See them seeing you and looking upon you with all of the grace and the wisdom that you have just embodied and now give back. The most kind, gentle, wise person in front of you nodding at you. And then you can see them rise up and turn to face the same direction as you. Perhaps even seeing in all directions. And see them turn into a brilliant diamond of light that settles down into the crown of your head and into your body. That is the seed of perfection of you. And again, you might find that you smile gently at that. And when you're ready, I will ask you to bring your hands to your heart. Bow your head to your heart. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering, and may each one of us here do something about that. You can take an inhale. Bring your hands back down to your lap. Raise your head. Slowly open your eyes and exhale slowly. Thank you, Dorit. I felt like we could have kept going, but I want to be mindful of your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sure.
Thank you, Jenna.
I leave the stage.
I guess you should have like a top hat and like a
Okay.
cane. Yeah. Are you broadcasting that? Is Hector watching this?
I don't know.
It better be really good.
Just wondering. Hi, Hector. Okay. Does everyone have a final exam? Okay. Can someone? Oh, cool. Sarah.
Do you want are you still using the projector? Do you want the lights on a little taller?
I would like to do it like this because at a different, I don't know how this is gonna unfold.
Okay.
And I might want to reference the text.
You want to meditate?
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, here.
Is that everybody? Well, I don't know. If you guys decide you want one, you can ask Sarah.
Yeah, I'll go first.
So I don't know how many of you came in. I don't think any of you came in during the meditation. So I think everyone pretty much know. Well, Birdie, you know what's going on. So the point is, the thing that Hector wanted me to do today was make sure that we're all clear on ACI 2. At least the part of ACI 2 that is encapsulated in the final exam. I want to start by talking about the concept of Buddhist refuge and how it's the same and how it's different from regular refuge. So let's start with that. Does anyone feel confident that they have a definition for Buddhist refuge? Does anyone not feel confident but want to offer one anyway? No? Okay.
Will you offer one?
I will offer one. Did you ask me?
Could you?
Okay, sure.
Are you going over what are you going over last week's?
No.
The final exam?
We're doing the final exam, but I want to, before we go into the questions, I want to just kind of discuss the basic concept of refuge. So the text that we're looking at, before I start with that, I'm going to answer here. Okay. I'll read the definition because I really like it, and then I can maybe find it in the text. So the definition that was provided in this text is this: any movement of the mind that acts of its own accord and consists of hoping that some object outside of oneself will be able to render one assistance.
Can you read that again?
Yeah, is it on the board or not?
It's not on the board.
Okay.
It's gonna take forever. Okay, here it is right here. Any movement of the mind that acts of its own accord and consists of hoping that some object outside of oneself will be able to render one assistance. So I think this is really interesting because this is kind of a basic nominal definition of what refuge means. Like if there's a really bad storm, you run into the object outside of yourself, like a house, and then you're taking refuge from the storm. In the context of this course, we take refuge in the 3 jewels. And it's interesting to kind of play around with the idea that the 3 jewels are an outside object. Can anyone define the 3 jewels?
Buddha, Dharma, Sangha.
Okay, what does that mean?
The Sangha is all of us together practicing the Dharma.
Okay.
I think the scriptural definition of Sangha is the group of people that have seen emptiness directly.
Yeah. That's nice.
Isn't it the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, and Sangha jewel?
Right.
That meaning like the emptiness of the Buddha, the emptiness of the Dharma, and the emptiness of the Sangha?
Yes.
Precisely.
But some people may not know what that means.
Right.
No.
So I just kind of want to plant a mental seed because many people that have taken these courses already know, like rote memorization, we can say this, this, this. When we take refuge, we kind of do it with the understanding that somehow refuge will help us escape suffering in some way, shape, or form. That applies here. But let me read the definitions that are provided in the text. They're interesting. And then we can kind of talk about them. So here it says, the definition of the Buddha jewel is that ultimate place of refuge, the one which has completely satisfied both of the needs.
Can you say that again?
The ultimate place of refuge, the one which has completely satisfied both of the needs.
What are both of them?
Yeah.
I think we'll go into that as the class goes on. But I think it has to do with the 2 kinds of afflictions. It didn't elaborate in the text, but that's not really, it's not necessary for the scope of this class. So I just want to get the definitions down, and I want you guys to hear them. And then question number 4 is the definition of the Dharma jewel, which is interesting because I've actually never heard this one before. It says, the definition of the Dharma jewel is the enlightened side of truth, either the form of a cessation or in the form of a path or both. In name only, this jewel can be divided into 2 kinds, the ultimate Dharma jewel and the apparent Dharma jewel. So I think that kind of comes down to what you brought up between the Dharma, like the texts we read, and the emptiness of the Dharma, which is that you can essentially extract some type of meaning from any written form or any interaction really, and utilize it to get to enlightenment. So, did everyone get that down for question number 4?
So the enlightened side of truth.
Yeah. So I'll give you what it says in the answer key. Are you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
And this differs a tiny bit. A truth or kind of reality which relates to the greater way and to the enlightened side of the 4 truths, and which involves either a cessation or a path.
Truth or kind of reality, that one.
This is for number 4. Rachel?
Yes.
Yep.
Which relates to the greater way and to the enlightened side of the 4 truths. Which involves either a cessation or a path.
Could you just go over the 4 truths just quickly?
Yeah, I think those are the truth of birth,
Uh-huh.
sickness,
Uh-huh.
aging, and death.
Right, okay.
Four noble truths?
Yeah.
4 noble truths are different than those truths that you just mentioned.
Okay.
What was it? Birth, sickness, aging, and death?
I think that that's what it's referring to. But if you have another answer, I'm happy to.
I'm not
take it.
sure. I mean, the thing is a truth or kind of reality which relates to the greater way. So the greater way is the greater way would be the Eightfold Path, which is the 4th of the 4 noble truths.
Okay.
And then in the 4 noble truths, the first is that there is suffering, which we just talked about, kind of. The second is that there is an end to suffering. The third is that there is a path, and then the 4th is the Eightfold Path, which
Those
is
are the nobles.
those are the 4 noble truths. And then the Eightfold Path is usually the is a very descriptive way of how to end your suffering.
What's
Right.
the 4th truth, I'm sorry?
The Eightfold Path.
That,
The Eightfold Path, which then goes into right mind, right concentration, right view, right intention, right action, right effort, right livelihood, right speech.
Okay, hold on, I'm sorry. There's
You don't need to write all of
Yeah,
this.
you don't.
No,
Just-
I just feel like there's like a lot of numbers. So there's 3 jewels, and that leads
They
to
make
the
lots
4
of
truths,
numbers.
And then the 4 truths become to the 8.
Yeah, the Eightfold Path.
Eightfold
And there's
Path,
6
okay.
You're
perfections.
catching on.
And a
There's
partridge
4
in a pear tree.
immeasurables. That's
But-
right.
So are these like remember how the Legos were like next to each other? So is it kind of like all these simultaneously happen, or is it like you walk down the path and then the 3 jewels and then you find the 4 paths and then
No,
or the 4
they
truths and
can
then-
happen in any
Any
number
order,
of
okay.
orders,
Okay.
and they can happen all at once. They can happen in sequence.
And that would depend upon your own karma.
Okay.
Right. So to continue with the definition for question number 4, they give an example. So an example of a cessation, and this might clarify things for some people. An example of a cessation would be the fact that after you see emptiness directly, it is impossible to ever doubt the principles of Buddhism again. So you gain a cessation for doubt.
That's the cessation?
Yes.
That makes sense.
That there's a cessation of doubt.
Yes. The question says, give one example of a cessation in the path. So that's the cessation, which would be the end of doubt. After you perceive emptiness directly, you become attuned with the way reality works. And it's impossible for you to ever be unclear about how your reality is working.
Right, because
So the
then-
doubt goes
Right.
away.
Right.
Okay? And then the example of a path would be reaching true renunciation, aka the path of accumulation. And I think what that means is you're just purifying. If I have it correct in my mind, this is the point where you have clarity on your kind of stock of karma and what you need to do to purify and become enlightened, basically. It's just like you know exactly what's going on. Now, most of us are kind of flailing around, not really knowing. Once you perceive emptiness, you have a very clear perception of what you need to do to completely end your suffering.
So what was the path?
Cool. The path is called the path of accumulation.
Wait, that's not after seeing emptiness directly, though, right? That's not what they're saying.
They're saying an example of a path would be reaching true renunciation.
Okay.
But I think that does occur after perceiving emptiness directly.
No.
But not accumulation.
It would be habituation and then
Yeah.
accumulation.
Yeah.
No,
Seeing.
accumulation is before
Preparation, the path of seeing, the path of
habituation.
habituation, and then no more seeing.
And seeing is after.
Okay, so for purposes of the answer, you guys don't need to put that.
But that's different than the Eightfold Path.
Yes. I think we're making it.
I think
Yeah,
so.
We're making progress.
It was confusing, including.
So I'll just leave an option.
No.
I don't.
So a good functional definition of the Dharma jewel is something which leads you to understand your progress towards enlightenment. The Dharma is something which instructs you towards enlightenment. So you can think of it that way. The emptiness of the Dharma jewel, this isn't for the homework. The emptiness of the Dharma jewel kind of implies that you can learn how to become enlightened in every single situation. And in that way, every situation and every being becomes your teacher. And
Hey Rachel, real quick, you said instructs you towards the
path to enlightenment.
Okay.
So let's go up to question 1, because I kind of skipped ahead a little bit because I was excited. Give a brief definition of the perfection of wisdom. The definition provided is this, and I'll put it up. It's the knowledge of a person of the greater way. Oh, is it not? Okay, it might not show up in the reading, but it was in the answer key. So, the knowledge of a person of the greater way with which they perceive emptiness and which is imbued with the wish for enlightenment. The knowledge of a person of the greater way with which they perceive emptiness and which is imbued with the wish for enlightenment.
Does that refer to the person that I appear to be, or the person that I perceive in that way, like Buddha or something like that?
And well, it's just saying whoever is perceiving emptiness, that knowledge within the within that experience
Uh-huh.
is that which is the perfection of wisdom. The natural result of the perfection of wisdom is the perception of emptiness.
Okay.
Okay? It's pretty, okay. The second two answers are really easy. I'm just going to give them to you. They're very straightforward. So the root text within this course is the ornament of realizations. And it is said that it was Lord Maitreya that transmitted it to a Sangha in 350 AD.
Is it in the text on the PowerPoint in order to get the spelling correct?
Oh, yes.
What year did you say it was?
It was 350. So that's how you spell Maitreya. And Master Asanga is Asanga. That was in 350 AD.
So Master Sangha wrote it down.
I don't know if it was written. I think he might have spoken it. I don't know who exactly wrote
Wasn't
it.
it Maitreya the future Buddha?
Yeah. So what it's implying, it's kind of like with the, who was it that, Gentle Voice and
Yeah.
Tsongkhapa, like Lord Maitreya appeared to Master Asanga and Master Asanga was able to transmit the ornament of realizations to us. Maybe he wrote it, I really don't know. The date is approximately 350 AD. And then there's two commentaries on this work. This is the answer to the next question, question number 3. The Indian commentary is called The Clarification of the Meaning. That's Master Hari Bhadra, Haribhadra, in 850 AD.
Master, I'm sorry.
Haribhadra. You know, it might help you guys.
Where'd you put the answer
Yeah.
sheet?
Yeah. We might have to skip around a little because this is like the answers to the homeworks. Here it is. Indian commentary.
Clarification maintenance.
Rachel, the final is from the quiz.
Bless you.
So
Love you.
put the quizzes up.
Well, these are the answers.
Oh, and the answers aren't on the quizzes?
No, the quizzes don't
Okay,
have answers
right.
on them. Yeah, this is the answer key, which is an amalgamation of like
Right.
quizzes
Homework,
and
exactly.
homework. And then the Tibetan commentary is the next one. So question 3 asks for the Indian and Tibetan commentary. This is the Tibetan commentary. The Analysis of the Perfection of Wisdom by Kedrip Tempa Dargye. Okay. So this is interesting because within the same text, I'm getting like 4 or 5 different definitions of what taking refuge is. This is another definition. This is for question number 5. A state of mind in which, of your own accord, you put all your hopes onto some other object to be of assistance to you.
What if you take refuge without an understanding of emptiness? Is that still refuge?
Well, I mean, this definition doesn't discuss emptiness at all.
Right, yeah.
For refuge to work towards leading you to enlightenment, you need to have some sense of emptiness in your mind.
Right, right. I can't just think like, oh, Barack Obama's gonna save me from all of my problems or something like that.
Well, you also can't think that if I pray enough to the Buddha, he will come down and help
Right,
me.
right, yeah.
You have
It's-
to help yourself.
Well, if you're able to keep the concept of emptiness in your mind,
Right,
you begin to understand that the Buddhas that you're praying to and that you're visualizing are projections of your mind, and
Yeah.
therefore they are you,
right.
and that
Yeah,
that like pushes you into this upward spiral of seeing yourself and all other beings as Buddhas,
right.
and then you become a Buddha. It's just that easy.
Yeah, but I think that the initial inclination for someone to come and take refuge who has not yet seen emptiness is what eventually will lead them to seeing emptiness.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the key point there is that to start negotiating with the gray area of this isn't actually what I think it is that I'm taking refuge in. It's not actually this Buddha out here who is going to help me. It's not actually this Dharma out here. This won't do anything. It won't do anything without the mind that's...
Of course, but until someone recognizes that it's their own karma that's created that, and that their own karma is the one that is actually allowing them to understand those words,
Right.
it's still working because their karma is allowing them to take in whatever they can in whatever way. In the same way that we offer compassion or loving kindness to whatever degree possible for wherever we are. So it's like you got to start small,
Right.
you know. And so and also I think recognizing that you cannot have one without the other two.
One what? Jewel?
Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, Sangha jewel. They are each the same.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think, but I think that the distinction that I'm kind of wanting to make is like it's just like utilizing all of the perfections. You can live a moral life. You can live an intelligent moral life, but without going into that wisdom factor, you probably won't get enlightened.
Quite possibly, but my point is that, or I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of people out there that do become enlightened that don't know anything about any of this stuff that we are sitting around talking about. You know, that
Because
it's
they have the karma for it.
because they have the karma for it. Right. They don't need to be sitting around talking about the Dharma because they're already in the Dharma. They are the Dharma. You know, and I just feel that sometimes, especially because this is course 2, that I want to make sure that people understand that you don't have to understand emptiness to take refuge. You don't.
So that answers your question.
You
Well,
don't?
I think it depends. I
I would
think
debate that.
I know.
Yeah, I would
I know a
debate that.
ton of people that take refuge.
I mean,
they
I took-
don't understand emptiness. That have not seen emptiness.
what do you
and
mean by taking refuge?
Taking refuge every day, sitting and taking refuge.
But what do you mean by that?
By putting their energy and their intention into becoming a Buddha, into following the Dharma, into taking refuge in a Sangha. This place is our Sangha. There's a ton of people that come here that have not yet seen emptiness, and by being with the Sangha, it helps them, it nurtures them, it gives them the sustenance to become, you know.
But then what's your point?
Yeah, but that's kind of imbued with emptiness. Though. Like in order for
I know, but there's a lot of people that don't. I just don't want it to be exclusionary. I don't want people to be like, I can't take refuge if I haven't seen emptiness.
No, I mean I took my refuge vows without like understanding what the hell I was doing. I just wanted to be a good person and I wanted to get better and I wanted to become a Buddha.
Right.
And after I took the refuge vows and began keeping my book and studying, now I have a deeper understanding of what those vows mean. in 10 years I'll have a more deep understanding of what those
Of
vows
course.
What
are.
were you gonna say?
I think there's a difference between understanding the concept of emptiness,
Yeah.
right? And then you can always continue, right? Like you continue to understand it, meditate on it, and then you see it, right? Like you don't have to perceive, I feel like maybe this was Jenna's point, that like you don't have to perceive emptiness directly to take refuge.
Yeah.
But it never
So-
said that, did it?
Well, that was the question that he was asking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
Would it be too off topic for me to ask what the refuge vows are specifically? I mean, because I'm still having a little bit of trouble with the concept of refuge and what putting all of your hopes means. So
Okay.
maybe you can-
You can take refuge without taking the refuge vows. There are 12 refuge vows. I'm happy to share them with everyone.
Do you have
And
them?
I can probably recite them. That would be fun.
I don't think
You
we're
wanna try?
supposed to.
No? Oh, we're not supposed to. Okay, bad.
We're not supposed to what?
Can you speak to the general kind of content that's in them?
They are so imbued with the concept of emptiness. But as Jenna is saying, you don't need to have that for them to start working. So it's very much cultivating the mindset which understands emptiness, but it's also morality.
And it's also saying I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. That's taking refuge.
But there's an element of commitment to that.
Of
right?
course, of course.
What degree of commitment is required to take refuge? Full commitment?
That all depends upon your intention, your motivation, your effort, your action, all of that stuff, you know. It all depends. You could say banana, and it's banana, or you could say banana, and it means something else that's deeply profound to you.
You
know?
could say, I'm going to kill you. And then you could say, I'm going to kill you. And it can mean two totally different things. If you want good karma, powerful good karma, take the vow and mean it. And don't break it.
Or Rachel will
break
kick
it
your
and
ass.
then learn how the karma ripens.
Sounds like this subject.
That's how I do it.
Bad
Are we not
advice.
supposed to share the vows, Steve? We're not supposed to share the vows?
I believe you're not. No.
Okay,
Did you
well,
know
I
that? Did you know the vows before you got them?
No, but Hector kind of like laughed at me for not knowing them. He was like, "Oh, you don't even know that," and I was like, "Oh my gosh."
I didn't. I was never
I know
told.
neither of us
Shouldn't you
knew.
understand what the vows are that you're gonna have to keep?
No, there are no. It's actually very powerful. The higher vows, you actually can't know them until you're ready to take them.
But I thought there are certain vows that, because then, how do you know you're ready to take them if you don't know the vow?
You should definitely know that you're ready by knowing how to take refuge in the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, and the Sangha jewel. And I think that's all it's like qualified of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm just saying it because we were never given the vows before we got them, so I don't know if we were supposed to know.
I think it also depends on who you take your vows with. I mean, I took vows with Venerable Ravina, and she very openly discussed what they were and what it meant, and also taking your layperson vows, and
Yeah.
you know.
When you said,
So-
"Can I have them?" though,
Yeah.
So
or before you even asked.
You could go online and find out what they are. I mean, it's
just
Yeah.
don't use Wikipedia. Like, go to a good website. Joke. That's not the scope of this class, though.
No.
Discussing the vows is not the scope of this class. The vows are a beautiful extension of this class. This is kind of an interesting segue. So the next question is, describe the taking of refuge which is shared with practitioners of a lesser scope.
of a medium scope.
No, it's a
Lesser.
lesser scope.
It's number 2, not 3. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
So, the lesser scope is that you just want, so there's 3 scopes. I hope I have this correct. The lesser scope is that you're aspiring for, you just want the same rebirth, if not a higher rebirth. Like, you're just like, please, like, I don't want to be in a hell realm or an animal realm. And then medium scope is, I just want the cessation of suffering. I want to be in nirvana. And then the higher scope is, I just want to become a Buddha for the sake of all living beings. So we're talking about the lowest scope. And this is kind of, the way I understand the scopes is that they're mindsets that you cultivate as you become more educated and more developed spiritually. It's not like you choose one and one is better than the other. They kind of build upon each other naturally. This is me talking, not Hector or any of these other masters. So it says that you start to feel a personal fear that you're going to be reborn in a different realm. And part of that is understanding even meditating upon the experience of beings that have a lesser quality of life than we do. If you don't really subscribe to the whole realms thing, you can just think about the different lives that humans live. And just hoping that you never have to have it worse than you do now. At least now. If I could just keep it here, fine, I'm happy. Just don't want it to be worse. That's the lesser scope. So in order to have that, you start to feel a fear for it being worse than it is. And you also have to have the belief that the 3 jewels will help you. And they'll keep you from going down into being a stray cat in the wintertime. I think about that a lot. No questions?
Okay. Wait, so this is talking about your next life, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
If the idea of reincarnation is kind of weird and foreign and hard to grapple with right now, that's okay. I was offering kind of an alternative where our mind stream is always changing and evolving. And you can kind of just hope that engaging in these practices and studying this philosophy will at least keep you on the same path. For me, at least, I know I've been in states of mind which are much worse than the one that I'm in now, much less enjoyable. And I just never want to go back there. And I keep coming back here because I'm pretty sure if I keep coming back here, I won't have to enter those mind states. Of getting drunk, being unhappy, blah, blah. Does that make sense? So you don't have to necessarily get with reincarnation yet to think about this.
In speaking about these scopes of taking your refuge, so call it intention or your point of view from lesser to medium to higher, is there any sort of judgment being passed on them?
Absolutely not. No.
Because you're still on the path.
Even 1% refuge is a great step.
Totally. I do want to mention that because if you think of all of the beings who possess minds in the universe, in all of the universes, what is the probability that you're sitting in this room studying these things? And even if you don't have perfect refuge, or even if you don't understand emptiness, what is the freaking probability that you're talking about this stuff and studying these texts? Studying these texts in a language that you understand. It's
It's by the amount of, look how small a group we are. Out of how many people in New York City?
Think of an anthill and how many minds are in that. I don't know, just for me, the probability is so it's so amazing and it's so beautiful. So we need to be grateful for that.
We're so lucky.
Yeah. Even just hearing a little bit of Dharma is amazing.
Well, I think it also speaks to the relationship that we have with any particular kind of judgment that might possibly be even passed anyway, right? It's how are we seeing what the words are that are coming to us? Everything is what our relationship is to it and how we're experiencing it.
to build on that a little bit though, it's kind of what I was implying when I said that the scopes build on one another. Like first you kind of have to like accept and understand that you want it to not be bad. And then you're like, okay, I want all of my mental afflictions to cease. And then like it kind of naturally follows, this is very debatable, that you want to do it for the sake of all living beings. And that's kind of the progression. Okay. Number 7 is give the detailed definition of the greater ways wish for enlightenment.
Wait. Oh yeah.
So that's like the highest aspiration.
This is the one you were just speaking about being the aspiration for yourself and all living creatures, is that correct?
The main mental awareness belonging to the greater way, which is focused on achieving total enlightenment for the benefit of others, and which is matched with a state of mind that is associated with it, the aspiration to achieve enlightenment. Second, it is a knowledge belonging to the greater way, which acts as a door for entering the greater way, and which is included into the activity side of the standard division of into the two of view and activity. So it's basically like you have to have the impetus, like you need to have the view and you need to have the impetus. You need to have the ability to perceive like what's going on, and then you need to have the jolt to action to attain enlightenment for the sake of all beings. You need to see how that functions in order to do it, and then you need to want to do it in order to do it. That's what they're saying. You need to have the view and the action. Yeah.
So this is like, I think the second or third time I've seen the greater way. So the greater way is that going back to the perfectness, viewing emptiness, or?
The greater way includes a view of emptiness. But when they're saying the greater way here, it means the way which leads to achieving enlightenment for the sake of all beings.
Okay.
Mahayana.
Isn't that they say that is what's after Bodhicitta? The one after. I'm visualizing Lego pieces and
no,
like
that's
one with
good.
like wings and.
Sorry, I don't have a Lego thing. That's
yeah, that's why I can't remember the word, but I just the Lego.
It's infused with bodhicitta.
Yeah.
So the lesser way is just wanting to achieve nirvana for yourself. And it sounds kind of like selfish but like it's kind of a natural urge.
Mm-hmm.
And the greater way, at least as it occurs to me, is like it's just like the natural development out of that. Mm-hmm. It's like you just get more insight, you just get more love, and then you're up there.
I guess the way from what you just said, so it's kind of like once you get it for yourself and you understand it for yourself, you're able to then help other people.
It's the only way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only way.
I mean, I think that some people, if you don't mind me, but for me, my main motivation throughout my lifetime since I was tiny was for the benefit of other people first. Mm-hmm. That's just my way of being, for the benefit of other people. And then there's natural people. There's people who are natural caretakers or whatever, and then but they're interrelated, because once you realize that we are interrelated,
right,
you cannot take care of other people until you take care of yourself.
But if you don't know how to turn the wheel, you can't turn the wheel for others.
Of course.
And that is like, if you don't understand emptiness, you can't teach emptiness to other people. Mm-hmm. Like if you haven't had certain realizations yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to help other people. And the best way and the only real way that you can help anyone is to help get them out of samsara. And that has to be through you. You have to understand what the hell you're doing. Otherwise, we just kind of think. Like I kind of think that if I give a homeless person a couple bucks, they might get some happiness from it. But I work with homeless people, and I see what they do with the money. And it's not always good for them. But then I don't even know, because you have to follow it and follow it and follow it and follow it. I don't have that wisdom. Mm-hmm. So it's the idea of having that wisdom and understanding. it's something that I can't even like conceptualize for you guys because it's so high and it's so amazing.
Rachel?
Yeah.
I keep thinking about the causes of suffering. So if one doesn't like to have the causes of suffering for himself, and he sees that other people that he cares for in general, they don't want those causes.
Absolutely.
So then he's inspired to work on himself to eventually help them.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful motivation. That's a pure, beautiful motivation. It's like what Jenna said. And in a way, and then you can also help other people because you know it will help you. Once you sort of understand karma, you can go around and like sprinkle your world with kindness and understand that it's going to come back to you. And really, the line between you and other people starts to get blurred. And it's just the presence of kindness and the presence of love and the presence of wisdom in general in the world. Where are we? Question number 8.
The 2 types of the wish.
Cool. Okay. So, this one gets a little weird because there's actually like 6 answers, but I think they're worth discussing. Yeah. Let me just find them. So this is one potential answer, but the 2 types of the wish for enlightenment. But I think this is actually the real answer. But it's using exactly the same verbiage, and essentially they're all answers to important questions. So I wanted to discuss them both. But if you're doing the exam, which I should have mentioned this at the beginning, which I'd really like to show Hector that people are doing these exams, and it will make him really happy, and it's good for you.
We should all take a picture at the end and hold it up.
And I'll write A+ on the top of everyone's in red pen, and we'll all be really happy and stuff. So, okay. The first way of dividing the wish into 2 types. So the wish for enlightenment. The wish in the form of intention, prayer, or thinking like a bodhisattva. The thought to become totally enlightened so that you can be of help to all beings. The wish in the form of action, acting, engaging like a bodhisattva, actually undertaking the activities of a bodhisattva. So it's thought and action, essentially.
So, sorry, is this kind of like what it was saying before? Like, first you have to want to enter the greater way in order to help other people, and then second it's saying like belonging to that greater way is kind of like, is that the action kind of? I don't know, because it says opening the door to the greater way and belong to the greater way, that's how you help others. So is that kind of the same answer, just in different ways?
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because the thought and the action are inextricable. When you come down to it, you really actually can't separate them. But, in a very like general surface level way, like, I can go and do something, like I can go and hug someone, or I can like think, oh, I hope you're happy, and that's fine. But really, it's all movement of mind.
Well, because your thoughts make your world, and then your actions, and then I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about. You're
internalizing it well. Like your questions are really good.
Okay.
Thank you for asking them.
Thanks for saying that they're good.
I'm not getting this. Sorry, can you translate this for me again?
Yes.
Or was it going faster than this?
No, I was just making a weird face at you, of course. We don't need to go any particular speed.
Yeah, I get it.
What aren't you getting?
Okay, so the question describes the 2 types of the wish for enlightenment. are these things that are held independent of each other, or are these things that can are these things that can coexist in one mind, A and B? Like, is one person A and another person B, or can a person be both A and B? Is it something that
They coexist.
they coexist? Okay.
This kind of gets down to like, what is a thought? What is an action? But yes, they have to. Especially like if you're, but then you can also say like, doing good things, even without, it's kind of like what Jenna was saying earlier about the vows. Like you can do good things without a great understanding of wisdom, and slowly it will grow. So the action can help create the thought. And also the thought obviously would have to predicate the action.
No, that all makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing something and it's just kind of rote and you're not really even thinking about it, it's not nearly as powerful if you're doing it with really deep intention and effort.
Yeah.
It's the energy that's put into it, and that's springing from your own, at least in this, which is leading to the path of the Bodhisattva, is for the benefit of all other beings.
But in the same way, like there's this awesome story. I don't know where it is or why or whatever, but I know it's somewhere in an ACI lecture or something about this guy that was like this expert on some sutra in a monastery. And so you know how like the way that they learn the scriptures is they just like hold it in front of their faces and repeat it over and over. And so this guy had this one pigeon that lived outside of, I love the animal stories, that lived outside of his, dorm room. And the pigeon, he knew that the pigeon was hearing him every day, and he recognized this pigeon. So when the pigeon died, he went and found the reincarnation of this mind. And then that pigeon became this expert on whatever sutra it was. And
That's so funny.
that's why I'm going to play a CD for Little Mama of the Heart Sutra while I'm not at home. She becomes an expert.
Who's Little Mama?
Little Mama's my cat.
She's here? Cool.
She's not here. She's not here.
But the mental image of her is here.
Oh. Okay, and then I want to go into the 4.
Did that help?
I think it.
All
I was gonna say like, I guess basically like I think of it kind of like the recycle sign, that your thoughts become your world and then become your actions and then become your world, and then the world comes back and then you think more about it again, and then it keeps like and kind of just keeps going. Like it's not something that happens like you have all these thoughts and then you're gonna put all this Buddha action onto the world, and it just happens like slowly. Like maybe you give your spare sandwich to a homeless guy and he says thank you, and then your actions, and then his actions then come back to you, and then does that make any sense? Like
It's like the chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
You can't.
I think it is a recycle sign in your head.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know if that helps.
What the three of you are saying makes sense. Maybe I'm just having a little bit of trouble with the Tibetan question, and I just didn't totally understand.
Oh yeah,
how
like
you were
the
saying
two
it.
types, and are they different? And
Yeah, but that's fine. But if the intention of that question was to get us thinking about the concepts that you guys were talking about, I get what you're saying. It's a little transition thing.
I think it can also be like how can you embody these things, right? You might not always be in a position to do an action.
Is it? Wait, I just realized. Is it tricky because it's saying the two types of the wish for enlightenment, and the wish is kind of like a thought, and then it's breaking it down to prayer and action. Is that what's weird?
Yeah, I'm just having trouble with the odd translation of the question. That's all.
yeah,
So we
that's
can
kind of
retranslate
that's
the
pretty
question.
normal.
Yeah.
The way that these things are worded. It's just because it's using a language that we're not necessarily familiar with. But in this, eventually you get used to it, and it's like anything else. You know, and I think also because we often think of prayer as not actually doing anything, right? Or we can think that, but it's actually incredibly powerful. If you're reciting mantra, And then if you're reciting mantra while doing prostrations, or if you're reciting mantra as a way to recognize that your mind can possibly start doing the things that minds do, which is not always be particularly kind, right? So then you start reciting mantra. These are all ways of training the mind and of recognizing that everything we do, think, and say does spread outward, especially when we want to be of benefit for other people. It's tools and it's this step on the path, you know?
Okay. I think I'm not going to go into the 4 types because I want to get as close to finishing this exam as possible. Hope that's okay with you guys. If we have time at the end, let's do it.
What 4 types?
There's another section in the answer key that has the 4 types of the wish for enlightenment, and it has to do with like different bodhisattva levels and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I think for right now, I'm gonna skip it for the sake of
Like
time.
A minus or B plus or.
Pretty much, yeah. Like 8th level bodhisattva, 10th level. It's like A plus, A plus plus, A plus plus plus.
I'm okay with B.
A plus plus plus. Okay. Give the definition of nirvana. I just hit it. Does anyone know?
The permanent cessation of mental afflictions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, good.
Due to one's individual analysis.
It's an A.
Which is a really bizarre way to say realizing having the direct perception of emptiness and realizing the 4 truths. Which I think now that I'm reading this is like what you had said earlier.
The 4 Noble Truths.
Yeah. Or do you think it's karma, the 4?
It's right there.
Karma. Where?
4
Question
realized
2.
truths, which is known as the 4 Noble Truths.
Oh, misnamed.
He always
Interesting.
calls them the 4 areas.
That when Buddha achieved enlightenment, that's one of the first things that he said.
Geshe Michael is really big on not calling them the 4 Noble Truths.
Really?
He's
Yeah.
big
He calls
on
them the
what?
4
He
areas.
does not call them the 4 Noble Truths.
The Aryan truths.
Yeah.
He calls them the Aryan truth instead.
Yeah.
Because of the
Aryas.
So can we just repeat them one more time? It's that life is suffering.
There is suffering.
But there is some.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an end.
There is an end to suffering. There is a path to the end of suffering.
And the path is the Eightfold Path.
Cause of
So
suffering.
that there's a
You left out the
cessation
cause.
to
The
suffering.
cause of suffering is ignorance,
No.
attachment,
There is
aversion.
suffering, suffering is caused,
Right.
suffering can end, there's a path to end.
So there is suffering. So just write this down and then we'll ask questions. There is suffering. Suffering is caused. Suffering can end.
And there's a path.
And there is
to
a
the end.
path. That's the Eightfold Path.
That's
which
the
the
is
4
4
Aryan truth.
That's the 4 Aryan truths. The Eightfold Path is the 4th of the 4 Aryan truths.
and the 4 Aryan truths are.
There
What we
is
just said.
suffering.
The end.
Oh
There
wait,
is
why did
suffering.
you say and then?
She's saying the Eightfold Path is the 4th.
The Eightfold Path
Aryan
is the
truth.
4th of
Oh
the 4.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's.
So it's
kind
there
of
is
Thank you,
suffering,
Paul, too.
there's an end to suffering, there is a path to end the suffering.
Mhm.
Which is the Eightfold.
And then the 4th is,
And then-
and then the Eightfold Path is the end of the 3rd.
The Eightfold Path is the end to suffering, is the path to the end of suffering.
It's a pretty linear
Yeah.
way to see things.
And you'll see it. The Eightfold Path is usually seen as a wheel with spokes.
Right.
Yeah, that's the Dharma Chakra.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's interesting because it's saying individual analysis means that you realize the 4 Noble Truths after the DPE.
The DPE.
So
Seems like it would happen at the same time, like. Well, I guess it could happen like a split second after. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry, so nirvana is, because it says eliminating the mental affliction obstacles, so that is the permanent cessation of you realize there's nothing, and do you just always think?
No more suffering.
Okay.
It's not realizing that there's nothing.
Oh, okay.
It's realizing that nothing is the way we think it is. It's realizing that everything is dependent on other things, and in that way, it's not a fixed, unchangeable object that is permanent and real, the way that we think things are.
So is it the end of suffering because due to your individual, so your, how do I explain that?
It means that suffering ends because you've perceived emptiness.
Yeah.
So it means that you've kind of lifted up the curtain and you see exactly how reality works. Once you see that, you understand how to end your suffering. And that's the Four Noble Truths, right? Because then you get to the end, the Eightfold Path. Okay, duh. If I want to get rid of this, I know how the suffering is caused. I can see how it works in my life. And now I understand exactly how to get rid of it. And it's not just me saying it like I'm saying it now. It's like you actually have the insight in every single moment.
There's a lot of work involved too.
So is nirvana after that work is completed, after you have because you lifted the curtain, you have these 8 paths, so it sounds like this end to suffering, even though you understand there's nothing, it's not like, oh yeah, I understand there's nothing, ta-da. It's kind of like, I understand there's nothing, now I have to work on my
It's not understanding that there's nothing. I get what you're saying, but I just want to correct you because people tend to fall into this kind of nihilist perspective of nothing exists, nothing really matters. And that's not what the Buddhist says. The Buddhist says that yes, something is out there, but we don't have a way of it's not solid the way that we think it is.
Can I give an example that may help? So, do you mind?
Yes.
Because a lot of what we're kind of skipping over or haven't touched on yet, or because I don't know what everybody's individual learning is that a lot of our suffering is based on aversion. We turn away from things either through anger, fear, or attachment. We're grasping onto things out of desire, lust, craving, right? These are the things that we're constantly going this way and this way and this way and this way, always. And then the other is ignorance. It is the not seeing that we're going to die, not seeing that everything shifts and changes constantly, including our thoughts, including our attachments and our aversions. So an example of this would be like seeing, let's say that there's somebody that you're lusting after, right? Beautiful person in your mind, right? If you can suddenly see them for not this gorgeous woman, man, whatever your type is, but literally it's a collection of atoms and tissues and muscles and bones moving through space in the same way that you are, it might possibly change your attachment to that person. Perhaps also even recognizing that one day they're going to be old, or that one day they were a baby. And then you can ask yourself, what is your true attachment desire for this intestines, tissues, blood, and you recognize it's your mind that's creating it.
Or it helps you understand that, or it helps you feel a deep love for everyone around you.
Exactly. For all of us, every single one of us.
Even if they smell bad or they're an asshole.
Right. If looking around in this room, literally see every single person here is the baby they were. I'm always amazed that we all lived this long. Somebody took care of us. And we are going to be old if we're lucky. But usually the cause of our own suffering is our attachment or our turning away from what is right in front of us based on how we see it.
Yeah.
Does that make
Was that an
sense?
example of individual analysis?
No. Look at the thing. That's what individual analysis is. Okay.
Can you blow it up? It's really hard to see because I'm getting old.
You want me to zoom in?
Yeah.
I can zoom in for you.
Just a little. Just like a
Sorry.
No reason to be sorry, just a tiny little bit.
I don't know how to zoom in.
Yes.
Okay.
These are, this is
Perfect.
such a,
No, you can go back one.
Oh, sorry.
it's such a
Thank you.
practice. It's literally recognizing as often as you possibly can what your mind is doing. And when you're not being aware of it, being aware that you weren't aware of it, and bring it back and watching it.
I wish we could read the Tibetan one, part 2. Can you pronounce it?
Sosor Tanga?
So
I have no.
you know what? After reading this more, they always talk about after the direct perception of emptiness, after this moment, they say this 20-minute window of time where you're in the direct perception of emptiness, like you come out of it and you have this moment where you, I guess they're talking about the individual analysis, but you're having like a visceral experience of each detailed part of the 4 realized truths, and you see them, and you've seen your whole life and every life before that, and how they fall into each of these detailed parts of the 4 realized truths. That's what individual analysis is.
Only after the DPE. The next question kind of goes into what you're asking. So there's all these different definitions and different types of nirvana that are discussed in scripture. The difference in the school. So like, I almost want to debate this, but I'm just gonna like provide it to you guys. So nirvana with something left over means that you still have a body that's produced by impure karma. So I guess you don't have the Rupakaya is the perfected body of a Buddha, right? Dharmakaya is Buddha mind. Rupakaya,
Nirmanakaya.
the body.
Rupakaya, I don't know, I always get confused, but
There's
the Dharmakaya is the mind for sure.
and Nirmanakaya.
Is the
Then there's Rupakaya and Sambhogakaya. One is created by wisdom, or 2 of them are created by wisdom, 2 of them are created by bodhicitta. Oh, so I guess maybe you haven't perfected bodhicitta. Okay, don't.
It's not bodhicitta. It's, well, wait. Does bodhicitta? Because they always say wisdom and method, right?
Yeah, and bodhicitta is method.
Bodhicitta is
bodhicitta
method.
creates the physical
Okay.
Buddha.
Well,
Anyway,
bodhicitta itself is method, or bodhicitta falls under method? Because isn't method like the things you do, like the action? And bodhicitta is just the wish.
right, but we just talked about the 2 types
Oh,
of
yeah.
wish, didn't we?
Got him.
Okay, so nirvana with something left over means that you've achieved nirvana, but you still have a body that's produced by impure karma.
So you still have a body.
Yes. Nothing left over means that you don't have such a body.
So does that because impure, I'm thinking it was kind of like negative and positive, so that means did you reach 0? If you no longer have impure karma, or that means...
That's a good question. It depends on what school.
Okay.
I think once you become a Buddha, there's like things that happen that aren't karmas. I don't want to get into that because I haven't studied it. I don't know if there's anyone here who has studied it.
What is? I know a little bit. Wait, let me read more into this.
What's the
You're-
question, Rich?
Well, she's asking about like you know, kind of where are you at when you get to that point where the body goes away? Like, are you at 0? And like, I think there's all different ways. Like, you can have the body that they're referring to is like the gross, fleshy body that decays. Buddhas can still have bodies. They're not subject to what these bodies, at least my body, is subject to.
They're different from human bodies.
Sure. Okay, similarly, there's a kind of nirvana called the nirvana which does not stay. And what that basically means is like when you're an enlightened being, you can just travel around and do whatever you want. You are not bound by samsara. So you're not. That's interesting. Oh, okay, of the lower way. Okay. Yeah. So it's above. So you know how we talked about the different scopes? Lesser scope, you would still be in cyclic life. Medium scope, you're in nirvana. High scope, you're not bound to either. So you're not bound to a realm. You do not have to stay in a certain realm. It's better than nirvana, basically.
So you can travel,
It's not even like traveling, because I don't want to talk about it as a purely physical thing.
Right.
Even though it's both physical and mental, and those two things are actually inextricable upon analysis. But the idea is that this is the highest way. You're not bound.
Okay.
It's better than the cessation of mental affliction. It's better than just being reborn as like Beyonce.
Which is the highest.
The abilities of a Buddha is way beyond the abilities of an arhat.
Yes.
Okay, so he can help millions, trillions of beings in trillions of different ways in trillions of different places, because he's way advanced. And even a bodhisattva is said to have more virtue than an arhat.
Right.
So the peace thing is good, but it's not great.
Right. Exactly. Still better than what I'm experiencing now, but not as good as it could be. Huh.
So the nirvana that does not stay, does that mean you're a Buddha?
I believe so. I think that it's implying that.
Okay. Right, because you can reach nirvana and not be a Buddha.
Right, but it's interesting because I'm wondering if it's some. I just want to say yes to you, because I really don't know, and
Okay.
everything else would be extrapolation, and I don't want you to think that what I'm saying is the truth.
Right. Okay.
Wait, at the end though it says, but not attain total enlightenment.
No, see, I read that and then I was like,
Right,
"Ooh," but if you read
but
the
you're
sentence,
not
it's just
in
that
the
backwards
extreme
Tibetan way of talking.
Oh,
Of
okay.
peace, that's referring to the lower way, because when you're on the lower way,
Gotcha.
you're not doing it for the sake of other beings.
Yeah, and so you
can't
don't
reach
get the
total
Buddha's
enlightenment.
superpowers.
Right.
No, you can achieve nirvana, but you have not achieved total enlightenment.
Right.
And then you can be enlightened and not be a Buddha, right?
No, enlightened means Buddha.
So you can be in nirvana but not be a Buddha.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, Steve, foe destroyer. Because we were talking about that before.
There it is.
And you were right.
As usual.
Okay. This is the way to achieve nirvana. Question 13. And thanks for bearing with me, guys.
Thank you for teaching me.
Become a master of the extraordinary training of wisdom. Assure that this extraordinary training is imbued with a mastery of the first two of the extraordinary trainings, morality and meditative concentration. So these are the two, the reason why, well, let me read the third one. Become extremely familiar with the realizations of emptiness which you have already had. Wait, that's interesting. Become a master of the extraordinary training of wisdom. Assure this extraordinary. what I was gonna say is that this is why emptiness is so important. And we can talk about other paths, but for the purpose of this class, we're discussing the path that is encapsulated in these teachings that's referring specifically to one type of Buddhism. And even more specifically, one lineage, because that's how we get this translation. The way to become enlightened is to understand emptiness. The way to become enlightened is to perceive emptiness directly and then shed all the crappy karma that's keeping you in suffering. Emptiness is very, very important. You can't just be a nice guy. Okay? I'm saying that mostly to myself. Did you guys get this down?
Wait.
One second.
Ooh, the next one is so good. You're gonna like the next one.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, everyone's gonna like the next one, but I think if you remember,
yeah.
because it came up in one of the Dharma Lab classes.
Oh, cool.
Is everyone good?
Yeah.
Cool. Number 14. This one is so cool.
Oh, that is cool. Oh, it's the gotcha.
Do you remember what I'm talking
I
about?
think I maybe do. When it was like, you mean when it's not there, it's like, it's there in your mind. I
Yeah.
remember that. I remember that moment.
Okay, so let's really unpack this one. Okay. Talking about the concept of emptiness and talking about realizing the concept of emptiness is very much about denying that objects exist the way that we think that they do.
Say that again, sorry.
Okay. I don't know if I can't remember what I just said. I know I agree with it, but I can't repeat it exactly. So, in order to understand and realize emptiness, we essentially have to argue against the way that we've understood reality up until that point. So we deny that like this object exists the way that I see it existing right now. When I see this object, like it seems to be just like a rose, and it's just here and it's a rose, and I don't think about all of the causes and correlates. It doesn't occur to me the net of all of these causes and conditions that have created this thing. The impermanence of this rose doesn't occur to me when I look at this rose. These are all things that probably, and more, please add on if other things are occurring to you, but these are all the things that would occur to a mind that understands emptiness. So in a way, to understand emptiness, I have to be like, this is not what I think it is, and I have to argue against that. But in order to argue against it, I have to be very clear on how I'm seeing this, the ignorant way that I'm seeing this. So to put it another way, like we don't talk about it a lot at the Three Jewels this way, but like other teachers in the same school of thought say like it's realizing no self. Like I don't think I've ever heard that talked about too much here, but it's like you have to, okay, I think I'm me pretty solidly, and I was like me the way that I think I am as a baby, child, da 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 da. I'm the same person. I'm me. I'm pretty consistent, but I'm not. I'm empty from my own. There's no me-ness that's coming from this body or this mind or this heart or these emotions. Okay, cool, that sounds cool, right? But I haven't realized it. In order to realize it, they're saying that you actually have to define the thing which you're saying is empty. And in the search for that definition, you're forced to see emptiness because you actually can't come up with a concrete definition of anything in that way. Yes.
Can I try?
Yes, please.
Okay. One like basic form of ignorance that I think about a lot, that I think that she's pointing at, is thinking that things don't change, and thinking that this rose is a rose and not that it's something, and this is still ignorant, but not thinking that, oh, this is something that started as this little thing and is one day going to die, right? We just look at it, oh, it's a rose, it costs $1.99, I get it at the store down the street, right? But she's saying, okay, you have to begin to start to look at this rose and understand, okay, this isn't just a rose, like this is something that is on a path from being basically nothing in space to being something in space to being nothing in space again, and that's still not quite right, but it's just an easy way to think about it. And so then if you can think about a rose that way, you can think about your friends that way, your job